Esterbrook, established in 1858 and reborn in 2018. Esterbrook was most famous probably for the J pen. They also had the icicle, and then they had all these really cool sort of nurse pens, like from the 50s. But mostly they were known for the J pen. Beautiful blue, reds, sort of striped pens. And one of the interesting things about Esterbrook pens of the vintage era is that you could take the nib out quite easily by just twisting it, pull it out, and put a nib in that you might like. You could put a broad in, you could put a fine in, or an extra fine. And they're actually still very popular, and you can still find the nibs. The nibs have become quite expensive in some cases, but they're still around. You can find them. And they were reborn in 2018. The name was picked up by another company, and they started making Esterbrook pens again. And I was unsure how I felt about that. And then I was loaned this pen by a member of my pen club in Charlottetown here. And a really big thanks to Becky Tozer Ferguson, who loaned me a bunch of stuff, actually. And this Esterbrook was one of the pens she has loaned me just to review and try out. So, Esterbrook, I gotta admit, this thing is beautiful. Like, just gorgeous. So, it comes in a box. It kind of has that sort of classic vintage graphic design, you know, the text and the illustration of the nib. And what's it say? The right pen for the way you write. America's original reborn. I gotta be honest, there are so many great American pen companies out there. I'm talking to you, Schaefer. I'm talking to you, Parker, that can look to their heritage and just bring back some of those beautiful pens they used to make, especially Schaefer. But Esterbrook, we're just going to take a little look. It comes in this plastic box, vintage kind of graphic design. You open it up, and inside is a clamshell box, kind of like a rough fabric over it. It says Esterbrook, established 1858. There's a magnetic closure. You open it up, and inside, America's original reborn, of course, that seems to be their branding, is this thing. And this is a beautiful pen. Like, it's a resin pen. You look at it, you can roll this pen around, and so much goes on. There's green, there's red, there's burgundy, there's gold, there's a bit of white, there's a bit of silver. Gold trim clip right here at the end of the cap. It says Esterbrook. There's some gold trim on the barrel there. It's a classic torpedo shape. It's actually quite different, say, from the Esterbrook J pen in many ways. It is a bit more like a Schaefer. It's a bit more like a classic Schaefer shape, that torpedo shape. But I like it. I love it, actually. I'm looking at this pen. And Becky, you have great taste. Anyway, I'm just going to say that. So you roll it along and you get all these chatoyancies going on, and there's the play of light, and it's just a beautiful pen to look at. But how does it write? That's the important thing. Well, we're going to try that out. And it's a twist cap. It has kind of an interesting little, you twist it and then it pops. Which is kind of interesting. And you have to push it back in a bit and twist, which is kind of an interesting closure system. It's about 1.5 turns, actually a bit more, 2, 3 turns, but that's okay. You open it up, and you get a gold nib. It comes also in a silver nib, and I quite like the gold. It's probably gold plated. I don't really know what carat it is. It's 14 karat. I don't know. And there's a little band, gold band here, and there's a gold band right there, which is nice. It's you unscrew it, and it's a cartridge converter filler. Apparently, the converter comes already included, like already attached in the body, which is a nice feature. I like when a pen includes the converter. It's just, especially if it's an expensive pen like this. This is an inexpensive pen. This is an expensive pen, but it's good to have the converter. It also comes with a cartridge, and you have a large gold-plated Yowo nib, which is it's a nib that's found on so many brands, but it's an excellent nib. I'll just say it. I love Yowo. They're on Twisby's, they're on Diplomats, they're on all kinds of good pens. So you kind of know you're going to get a great writing experience. I like the gold plated nib. It's a beautiful looking nib. You can see the Esterbrook logo right there. It's not overly fancy, but it ties in very nicely with this pen. It does post. Would I post it? Probably not. Well, if it was my pen, I would post it. But it seems to post fairly firmly. But it's a resin pen, and it's beautiful, how would you describe that? It's like little specks, of course, all through it, different colored specks. If I owned this pen, I probably wouldn't. Actually, I probably would cap it, but this is a friend's pen, so I'm not going to, or post it, I should say. So I'm not going to. But it's a nice size pen. It's a very good size pen in my hand. It's very comfortable. It's not an overly heavy pen. Would you get much writing done with this pen? No, I think you would just sit there looking at the pen. I'm joking. You probably get a lot of writing done with this. And a couple other things I should say. So the box, it tells you what it is. It's the Botanical Gardens Gold Fountain Pen, and this is a medium, and it is the Esterbrook Estie, I should say. Medium nib. And one thing I've noticed about Yowo nibs, even though they're on so many different pens, there is a variation of feel. I think they tune their nibs, or they design their nibs for the company they're working with. So they're very versatile that way. And this is a nice nib. It's very smooth. There's a bit of feedback to it. I like that. It's a very attractive nib. It's a bigger nib. I don't actually know what size it is, but it's a good looking nib. Suits the pen perfectly. And I'm just going to do a little writing sample. So the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. And that, to me, is a very smooth. It's a wet nib, too. It has a nice flow to it. It feels really nice. Very attractive. Smooth on the hand. A little bit of feedback as you write it. Gorgeous pen. You're looking at the pen. Like maybe you won't. Maybe you'll just sit there, like rolling this pen around in your hand as you're trying to write something, and then you find yourself, oh, I didn't write anything because I was just looking at this beautiful pen. Do I like this pen? I do. Would I buy this pen myself? I think it's on my list now. It sort of. Yeah, I would definitely put this on my list of pens I'd want, and I can't say more than that. I like this pen. Beautiful writer. I would probably also go for a medium nib. I don't know how the extra fine would work. I don't know how the fine would work, or a broad. You can get a journaling nib. But if I was to pick one up, personally, I would probably go for a medium nib. It's just very smooth, very nice to write with, it's just nice. Now, the interesting thing is when you put the cap on and you turn it, it doesn't actually seem to grab, but you have to push it in just a little bit. And then you hear a little click, and then you tighten it, and on it goes. I would kind of hope, I would kind of like there to have been a little gold band just on the end of the cap. Maybe for durability's sake, like if there was a metal band right there. I don't know if there's any issues with the fragility of this pen. I can't really see. I wouldn't. I don't think so. But personally, I would like there to be a little band right there. But that goes to an awful lot of pens. I would like there to be some kind of metallic band on the edge of the cap just for durability, just so you don't get crackage. Because if you over tighten it, I'd be a little worried. But I think if you have this pen, you're going to put it in an individual pen sleeve or a pen case. It's not something you're going to toss in your pocket. And that's fine. This is a pen you're going to take care of. This is a pen I recommend you take care of. It is that nice. It's a beautiful pen. I totally forgot to mention what came in the box. So like I said, there is a converter included. There's also a cartridge. That looks like a short international cartridge. I don't think there's any other things. There's this sort of like little soft padded section there where you put the pen in. It's kind of like a coffin. Is that the right word? I don't know. There's a little envelope. What's in the envelope? Let's open it up. I actually haven't looked at this. Let's see what it says. It seems to be stuck in there. And I can't get that out. And I don't want to rip it out. Well, it just says scan to activate your pen. So I guess it's some kind of warranty, maybe? When you look inside, it just says scan to activate your pen. There's a little thing you can hit with your phone. I guess that's fine. I'm not going to pull that out. I'm not going to wreck it or anything like that. Interesting thing about this pen. You can buy an adapter that you can use for the nib. So you can, the nib, I'm not going to do it, it's inked, but apparently you can unscrew the nib, pull out the feed and this little casing in here, and you can buy an adapter, and you put the adapter in, and you can put vintage feeds and nibs in up to this pen, which is really kind of neat, because Esterbrook, the vintage nibs they had all kinds of different nibs, like your standard fines and mediums and broads, of course, but they also had like scripts and different nibs meant for different purposes. So if you found a vintage nib that you might want to try, you could buy the adapter and put it in this pen, which is great. I like it. I got to admit, I would have liked them to have actually made it so that you didn't have to buy the adapter and you could just put a vintage nib in. But because they're using Yowo German nibs, they probably didn't have that leeway to do that. So they went ahead and just made an adapter, which is a nice touch. Well done, Esterbrook. If you couldn't, find a nib that was comparable to the vintage ones, they came up with a solution, and I like it. It's a great idea. What else can I say about this pen? Things I like, things I don't like. It's a beautiful pen. The material is beautiful. I like the shape. It's a beautiful weight. I like a lot of things about this pen. It's a bit on the pricey range with a steel nib, but I think you're paying for the quality of the material, of the body, and the tooling of the pen. It seems to be very well made. Steel nibs versus gold nibs. For a couple $100, you expect to be getting a gold nib or hoping to get a gold nib, but there are some really well-made pens that are in that price range that have steel nibs. The alloys used in steel nibs are a lot better than they were back in the 40s, 50s, and things like that. So you're getting a good quality product. So maybe, you know, you might hesitate at the price. But if you look around, I think you can find a good price. You can find them on different sellers. Sometimes you might find one on sale. But for me, I'm going to put this on my list of pens that I include on my Grail list. I don't know if I'd go for this color. I was looking online and doing a bit of research, and there was a lot of interesting colors and finishes and things like that. But I do like the gold. I like the gold nib. The silver is fine. The gold just gives it a little bit more pizzazz. Size-wise, let's do a little comparison. I'm just going to toss a couple pens in here that are quite popular and quite well known. That's the Diplomat Aero. It's actually a fairly longer pen, and that's the Lamy Safari. Once again, it's longer, so it's a good size pen. And saying that, you can also get an oversized version of this pen, which would be a very big pen. And that, of course, is more expensive. So it's an Esterbrook. Let's do a little things. Oh, it's like I said, it's a cartridge converter filler. The material is resin. The nib, you can get it an extra fine, medium journaler, which is a special grind. They have a nibmeister who makes journaler nibs for them. Needlepoint, I don't know what needlepoint is. Scribe and Teco. Teco Gold, it says. Interesting. I don't know what that is. Anyway. Diameter of the body is 13.3 millimeters. Diameter cap with clip 15.2 millimeters. Diameter of grip is 10.8, and the length of the body is 127 millimeters. Length of cap is 70 millimeters. Weight, the weight overall is 24 grams, and it has an ink capacity for the converter of or for the cartridge of 1.67 milliliters, and the converter is 1.13 milliliters. So it's a nice pen, nice size pen. Anyway, let me ask you a question. Do you have an Esterbrook? Do you have a vintage Esterbrook? Which do you prefer? Do you think the price is good? Have they proven to be a durable pen? I'd like to know. Let me know in the comments. But personally, when I look at pens like this, I am kind of a sucker for pens. I tend to like gold and black. Black pens are my favorite. But every now and then I come across something like this and I go, wow, that's just beautiful. And I picture myself, would I pull this pen out of my pocket in a meeting or in a group and just start writing with it? It might be kind of a thing I just pull out in private when I'm journaling or writing a letter to somebody. I might just pull it out in private, kind of just sit there staring at it for a while. But then again, it might be kind of fun to pull this thing out in a group and people would go, what is that? Wow. You know what I mean? They would go, wow. I think there's a wow factor to pens like this. And somebody would just end up becoming a fountain pen fan just because of this thing. Anyway, I hope you liked the video. If you're new around here, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know your opinion on Esterbrook. What's the most beautiful Esterbrook you know of? Do you have a vintage Esterbrook? Do you have a new modern Esterbrook? What brand? What vintage brand would you like to see revived? Like that could be Schaefer, Parker. There's so many beautiful brands out there that are sort of fallen by the wayside. What one would you like to see come back? Let me know in the comments. I'd really appreciate that. Anyway, hope you're having a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.